It begins not with words, not with promises, but with a quiet tremor inside you, an unspoken ache that pulls you closer to someone else's soul. That silent whisper in the dark, where your defenses drop just enough to glimpse something raw, unfiltered, something true. Maybe you've felt it before. A moment when time slows and the walls between you and another start to dissolve, leaving only breath, space, and the tremble of possibility. But why does that feeling slip away so easily? Why do you reach for it, only to find it shattered like glass beneath your own fingers? There is a wound beneath this, subtle but fierce, buried deep beneath layers of trying to be enough, of keeping safe. It's the wound that says, I am not seen, I am not enough. If I show too much, I will be left. And so you build walls. High, thick, almost impenetrable. Not just to protect yourself from pain, but from the terrifying vulnerability of being truly known. Every glance you don't meet, every joke you mask your silence with, is a brick in this fortress. And yet, within this fortress, the loneliness echoes louder. Love, you realize, is never just about the other person. It's about the parts of yourself you hide away, the parts that fear being unwanted, unlovable, unseen. The patterns that repeat like a haunted melody, drawing you toward connection, then pulling you back, sabotaging what you crave most. It's like a dance you learned long ago, between holding on and pushing away, between craving closeness and fearing the collapse it might bring. You might not even be aware of how deeply these unconscious cycles run. The moments you freeze when she tries to get close, the times you deflect when she asks how you really feel, the way you pull back just as intimacy starts to bloom. These aren't random. They are the echoes of old stories, handed down from a younger you who once swore, I'll never be hurt again. But every avoidance, every defense, is also a subtle withdrawal of your presence, your truth. And presence, not perfection, is what we hunger for in emotional connection. What if building a connection so powerful she can't forget you isn't about grand gestures or endless attention? What if it's about something more fragile, more terrifying? Showing up with all the cracks, the shadows, the parts you tried to erase. What if the key is in surrendering to being seen exactly as you are? The flawed, scared, beautiful soul underneath the armor. You might think that showing vulnerability means losing control, becoming weak. But the truth is the opposite. Vulnerability is your fiercest strength because it demands courage. It means stepping into the unknown without a guarantee of safety. It means risking the pain of rejection for the chance of real connection. It means letting go of the script you wrote for yourself, the one where love is conditional, transactional, or distant, and embracing love as a living, breathing dance of hearts. But this dance is messy. There will be stumbles. There will be moments when old fears flood back, and you want to retreat into numbness or sarcasm or silence. When you sense her pulling away, your mind may scream, run! Because your inner child remembers abandonment all too well. Yet, if you want to create a bond that stays, a connection that lingers in her heart like a song she hums long after you're gone, you have to resist the urge to hide. You have to be willing to stay, even when it hurts, even when it feels unsafe. This is where self-awareness becomes your compass. Not just surface awareness, but the deep, uncomfortable kind that shines light on your darkest impulses and patterns. The awareness that notices when you clam up instead of sharing, when you numb instead of feeling, when you judge instead of accepting. Awareness that doesn't blame or shame but gently uncovers the roots of your resistance. And in this uncovering, you start to see your fears for what they really are. Stories, not truths. You realize that the voice telling you to shut down is just trying to protect a part of you that was once broken. That the urge to control or manipulate connection is really a desperate grasp for safety. That the defense mechanisms you've built, sarcasm, detachment, perfectionism, are just armor shaped by pain. The path to connection begins here, in this tender reckoning. In choosing to dismantle your walls brick by brick, not with force, but with compassion. It's in practicing small acts of bravery, sharing a feeling without judgment, asking for what you need, admitting when you don't have all the answers. It's in holding space for your own pain without running from it, because how can you hold space for her if you can't hold space for yourself? And then something shifts. You begin to understand that emotional connection is not something you build with words or gifts or actions alone. Something you cultivate inside. It's the energy you carry, open, present, raw, that pulls her closer. It's the permission you give yourself to be imperfect, to be real. Because when you stop performing, when you stop trying to fix or impress, you start to become magnetic in the most authentic way. This doesn't mean connection is effortless or easy. Sometimes it feels like wading through stormy seas, with waves of doubt, fear, and old wounds crashing against you. But in those waves you learn to float. You learn that emotional intimacy is a practice of surrender. Surrender to discomfort, surrender to uncertainty, surrender to the messy, beautiful complexity of being human. You'll notice moments when she looks at you differently, when her guard softens because she senses your honesty, when the silence between you stops feeling heavy and starts feeling full of unspoken understanding, of shared vulnerability. This is the place where true connection lives, the place beyond words and surface interactions, where souls meet. Yet the work is never done. Because every new connection awakens new parts of you. Parts you didn't know existed or that you feared. It's a lifelong journey of peeling back layers, of learning to sit with discomfort, of choosing presence over avoidance. But with each step you grow stronger, freer, more alive. So you ask yourself, what if the love she can't forget isn't about who you pretend to be, but who you dare to become? What if it's not about winning her over, but about winning yourself over? What if the deepest, most unforgettable connection starts with a quiet revolution inside you, the choice to be seen, to be felt, to be known? This is the beginning of a story no one else can tell for you. The story of you breaking free from the patterns that kept you locked away. The story of your heart opening like a fragile bloom against the cold. And in that bloom, in that brave unfolding, lies the power to create connection so alive, so unforgettable, that it lingers, long after the moment fades. Because the truth is, connection isn't something you do to someone else. Something you become. It's the courage to stand naked in your own light, and the grace to invite her in to see you there. And now, with a flicker of that light inside, you begin to step into a new way of being. A way where love is less about fear and more about freedom, less about control and more about surrender. Where every breath, every glance, every word is charged with the possibility of something deeper. That flicker of light, small but persistent, grows brighter when you stop resisting what's inside you. You realize the walls you built weren't just to keep others out. They were keeping you from stepping fully into your own truth. And to be truly seen, truly connected, you have to lean into that vulnerability with fierce tenderness, like a flame guarding itself in the night, daring to burn anyway. This is the sacred paradox. The more you expose your wounds, the stronger you become. Because vulnerability isn't just about showing your cracks, it's about showing up despite them. It's about making the conscious choice to be present when your past whispers you're not safe, when your inner voice begs you to close down, to disappear, to disappear. You fight that urge with every ounce of courage you have, and in that fight you build a bridge. Not just to her but to your own soul. You start to notice how fear of intimacy isn't just about others rejecting you. It's also the fear of losing yourself in connection. The fear that if you open too wide, if you lean into the rawness of your emotions, you'll drown in them. So you guard yourself, you pull back, you hide behind shadows of indifference or control. But in doing so, you become a stranger to the one you want to know and to yourself. The path to unforgettable connection demands that you dismantle this illusion. The idea that being vulnerable means losing control or becoming weak. Instead, you learn that true strength is the willingness to surrender your defenses, not once, but again and again. It's in the small moments, a trembling voice sharing a hidden fear, a tear that breaks through your stoic facade, a confession that strips away the mask you thought was necessary. Each time you do this, you create a sacred space, a space where she feels safe to do the same. It's like two dancers moving closer, not through rehearsed steps, but through the improvisation of raw emotion and presence. This dance isn't always graceful. Sometimes it stumbles, falters, retreats. But with each return, with each brave step forward, the bond deepens. You begin to understand that emotional connection is less about fixing or changing, and more about witnessing and accepting. It's the art of holding space, holding her pain, her fears, her silences, without trying to solve or escape them. And equally, it's about offering yourself that same space, that same acceptance. Because how can you truly hold another's heart if you can't hold your own? There's a delicate balance here, between closeness and freedom, between intimacy and individuality. The connection you seek isn't a cage but a shared breath. It's a meeting of two whole beings who choose each other, not to fill voids, but to celebrate their fullness. And this fullness, paradoxically, emerges when you stop trying so hard to be lovable and start being undeniably, unapologetically yourself. This means embracing your shadows as well as your light. The parts you've hidden, the fears you've buried, the doubts that keep you awake at night. When you bring these into the open, not as flaws but as facets of your humanity, you invite her into a deeper reality, one that transcends superficial attraction and touches the soul. And something magical happens here. She doesn't just see you, she sees herself reflected in your honesty. She feels the pulse of shared vulnerability, and it calls to her own hidden parts. This is the alchemy of emotional connection, a mysterious, invisible thread weaving two lives into one tapestry, rich with texture and depth. But beware the temptation to rush this process, to try to force connection through words or actions alone. True connection grows in silence as much as in speech, in presence as much as in passion. It's in the lingering glance, the gentle touch that doesn't demand, the patience to wait through awkward pauses and unspoken fears. It's in the willingness to be uncomfortable, to sit with uncertainty, to trust that this slow unfolding is where real love lives. And within this trust, you discover something profound. You don't have to fix her, and she doesn't have to fix you. You don't have to be perfect, and neither does she. Connection thrives in the space between imperfection and acceptance, where both of you are free to simply be. This freedom, it's not careless or reckless. It's a quiet strength born from knowing who you are beneath the masks. It's the calm in the storm, the stillness that allows for depth. When you carry this presence, she feels it. It's like a magnet pulling her closer, not through need or desperation, but through a grounded, steady energy that says, I see you. I'm here. I choose you. And in that choosing, in that moment of surrender, the emotional connection becomes something unforgettable. It becomes the kind of connection that stays with her in the quiet hours, the kind that shapes her dreams and colors her memories. Not because of what you said or did, but because of who you were. Fully alive, fully present, fully open. So you keep walking this path, knowing it's a journey without a final destination. You keep peeling back your layers, facing your fears, embracing your wounds. You keep showing up, even when it's hard, even when old patterns scream to pull away. Because in each moment of presence, in each act of vulnerability, you build something real, something lasting. And maybe that's the greatest lesson of all. That unforgettable connection isn't about holding on too tight, but about holding on just enough. To yourself, to her, to the fragile, beautiful dance of two hearts learning to beat as one. This is the transformation waiting for you. Not a magic trick or a secret formula, but a way of being that radiates from your soul and touches hers. A way of loving that is brave, messy, imperfect, and utterly unforgettable. And as you step into this, you realize, she can't forget you because you no longer hide. Because you no longer fear the edges of your own heart. Because you have become the man who loves not from a place of need, but from the deep, steady well of your own wholeness. And that is the kind of love that changes everything. If this truth spoke to something deep inside you, if you feel the stirrings of that quiet courage to show up differently in your relationships, then don't turn away now. Lean into this path with us. Subscribe so you never miss a moment that can shift the way you connect, love, and heal. Because real transformation begins in the stillness of presence. And here, you're never alone on that journey. Stay with us. Keep opening. Keep becoming.